It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. And that's kind of been my mantra in life is keep getting back up. It's okay. Your nose is bleeding. Your eyes are puffy. You look like hell, but you're still fighting. And it's okay. Keep swinging that bat. You're going to get some hits and some home runs. Just don't stop swinging. And I think if you keep a strong vision going, that vision is going to let you overpower a lot of your failures. Are you doing everything you could think of doing all the time? His brain was completely wrong on this, and his gut was probably more right. The game is the fun part of it. The growing every day is the fun part about it. Doing something you didn't do yesterday is the fun part of it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast Conversations That Count. It is your host, once again, David Shaft, and today I have a very special guest, Elliot Kallen, also author of the book Driven, #1 bestseller on Amazon. Check it out if you haven't already. Now, before I talk too much about him, Elliot, would you be willing to introduce yourself?
Great. Thanks for having me. I'm Elliot Kallen, and I've been an entrepreneur now basically my entire life. This is the third, fourth, and fifth entities that I've started from scratch. I like doing that. I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I'm just an entrepreneur who likes to start things and build them. So I know we're going to be talking about that. I have gone through so many of the phases, the good, bad, and different. One of the things, David, when people think about entrepreneurship, unfortunately, too often they think about someone like Mark Zuckerberg, who started something in college, which became Facebook or Meta. And they think, well, I just want to be like Mark. I'm just going to have this straight line to success and become a billionaire before I'm 40. And you know that's not real because they're backwards, forwards. Most people, 99 to 90% of people are back, forwards, up, down, inbound. I'm one of those people I'm amazed how crooked my own line is. And so I wrote that book called Driven. And thank you for plugging it on Amazon. I wrote that book because I wanted entrepreneurs and leaders to know that it's okay to get a bloody nose from time to time. It's okay not to be perfect. And it's kind of like the Rocky movie. There's a scene where Rocky's talking to his son, and he said, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. And that's been my mantra in life is keep getting back up. It's okay. Your nose is bleeding. Your eyes are puffy. You look like hell, but you're still fighting. And it's okay. Keep swinging that bat. You're going to get some hits and some home runs. Just don't stop swinging.
I love that. And that actually leads me into my segue to some of the things we are going to cover today that I think, and I'm sure Elliot agrees, isn't covered enough, is it's okay to fail. We're going to talk about how to take on those failures, how to accept them. And on top of that, how to follow your gut. The difference between failing, maybe making a bad decision, or maybe just having bad luck. Not everything's always just a bad decision. Sometimes things just don't always work out. That's life. But before we dive in to some of these amazing topics, Elliot, I want to ask first and foremost, can you tell the group about a conversation you had that really counted, something that was impactful? Maybe it's something you had with someone else. Maybe it's a mentor that spoke to you, but a conversation that really impacted you.
I've had so many of those. It's a great question, David. I laugh a little bit with two schizophrenic voices coming in, one in each ear, from my parents, who I had great respect for and are long gone. My dad's already gone 35 years, my mother 25, died pretty young. My mother was an Auschwitz survivor from a concentration camp.
Wow.
And my dad was and I'm first generation immigrant to the United States. My dad was, even though he was born in Newark, his family's from Eastern Europe, and my mother's from Vienna. And my dad's thing was all the time that his phrase to me was, you can never make up for hard work. You can't. And so I've got this stupid work ethic that with that little voice that I call it schizophrenic because their voices, but here I am. Who said that? Who said that? But you got to go to work. And so I'm blessed. And my brother and I are blessed. And my sister and I blessed with great work ethics and cursed with great work ethics at the same time. And then my mother thing was because she was such a driver academically and intellectually, and we actually buried her with her dictionary.
Stop it.
Because English was her third language, and it was so important to her to know more words, more of the historical things that are kids, and to teach them. And she had this thing, if I got a 90 on a test, she would ask if anybody got a 95, and she'd say, you can do that. And if I got a 95, she'd ask if anybody got a 98. And if people got 100, she'd say, you could do that too. And so you could always do better. And so I come to work every day wanting to do better today than I did yesterday. And I asked that question that another mentor once said to me, who looked like Lyndon Johnson, 6'4", piercing blue eyes, and said, "Are you doing everything you can think of doing all the time?" And those messages, those three little lessons I just gave you, are in my head every single day of the week.
Are you thinking about everything you could be doing all the time? Did I rephrase that right?
Yeah, and of course you can never be doing everything all the time. That's impossible.
No.
So, and are you getting 100 on every test? That's impossible. You can all you can control is work, unless you want to work 8 days out of every 7. You have some control on that. But because two of those three things can never be satisfied, they become drivers, and they become unsatisfied drivers. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing either, because maybe after 20 or 30 years of future counseling, I'll get that out of my head. Who knows? But I do think that is, for me, one of the drivers.
I almost had flashbacks from what your dad said to you. So something my grandmother would do is if I ever didn't want to go to school, I would say I try to fake being sick. Say I have a sore throat, Grandma, I can't do it. That I still hear in my head, one of my schizophrenic voices as well. She would make me go to the doctors to get it checked out every single time I would say I'm sick, whether it was real, even if she knew I was faking. And we didn't have a car at the time, so our going to the doctors, we would have to call insurance, get a cab. That would take at least an hour to get there. Then it's going to take, I have to wait to see the doctor because it's last minute. So we're waiting at the doctor's office at least 2 to 3 hours. Then it's another hour to get back home. And by the time we've spent basically the entire day at the doctor's office, it was so much more inconvenient to do that than go to school, because then I also can't go outside. I can't play. So it just worked out more to just do the work. So I always hear my grandma just telling me, hey, you can not do the work, but you'll end up working harder getting out of it than you ever will doing it.
Well, that's a great lesson. I'll give you one quick funny story, if that's okay.
Please.
We lived in Geneva for a while, and my mother was trying to she was trying to get her boys to become international attorneys. So we were at a French school. No English was, matter of fact, no English was allowed to be spoken when we were in Europe, period.
Oh, well, you didn't speak the language.
Yeah. And so I think that I had a stomach ache. So one day went by with a stomach ache, and my mom said, you could stay home. And the next day they went by with it. Oh, it still hurts, Mom. And by the end of the second day, she said, I just want you to know that tomorrow, if your stomach still hurts, then we're gonna give you an enema.
Stop it. No, she didn't say that.
Tough love. And that was the last day that my stomach hurt at all when I was in Europe.
Your mother's a genius. She scared the stomach ache right out of you.
Well, look, 5'2" tall, tough lady.
I love that. And actually, speaking of stomach aches, so something I noticed that you do a lot is you go for it, right? Something you even mentioned in this book is you're not afraid to try and fail. So when you get that urge to try something new, build something new, pursue a new sale, work with a new client, start a new organization, how do you know when to listen to your gut? Do you always listen to it? It's very hard, because I know I have these feelings sometimes where I want to follow through on something. My brain is like, David, there's all these reasons it's not going to work. My gut's like, so how do you know when to listen?
That's a really hard question. I don't know if I can answer that. I try to listen to both. Listen, my gut says that I could still become the New York Jets quarterback, and that position is still available. My brain has a little bit more common sense involved with that. There's a happy medium, and I think it's subject by subject and issue by issue. And sometimes your gut is right. My father got offered the opportunity in his 1960s to have an exclusive with spray paint in the state of New Jersey.
Wow.
And he was in the ink and solvent business, and he listened to his brain and not his gut. His gut said, let's do this and create something magical here. But his brain said, it's too much risk, and it's barely being used, and nobody's ever going to give up a can of paint and a paintbrush. And so his brain was completely wrong on this, and his gut was probably more right, but he listened to his brain.
Wow. What are the chances?
Right. There's a happy balance that you have to maintain.
Wow. So he could have owned spray paint for the entire state of New Jersey.
Yep. You and I might not be having this conversation if you had done that. I might have been spray paint. You might have been calling me the spray paint king, second generation.
I love it. On your private jet riding to your next city.
Next Home Depot.
I see. So it does kind of come from situation to situation. And heck, if there's only risk, right? But sometimes there's no chance. Like you said, being the quarterback, I think you could do it. I'd bet on you, Elliot. Put
I
money
have
on it.
friends who've talked to me about it still and said, listen, at least you can be a free safety. You won't be a quarterback, even though you want to be a quarterback. But I don't think most of my body below my neck would agree with that.
I love that. Now, if I remember right, now this is a small side story, but you told me this story and I thought it was hilarious. Your team was called, you were called the Untouchables, or was it your defensive line or offensive line? Sorry.
So in the 1970s, 1960s, there was a television show called The Untouchables, which was the story of Elliot Ness and Al Capone in Chicago.
Mhm.
Elliot Ness finally nabs Al Capone for income tax evasion, and they were called the Untouchables. So when I was playing quarterback, I felt like I was running for my life. And I asked my best friend, still my best friend today, to just sit back, don't block, and tell me what's going on the front line, because I'm getting killed out here at every play. And he said, there's nobody touching anybody. Nobody's blocking. And so it became something, Elliot and the Untouchables, because they didn't touch anyone. And it was a joke all through high school that when Elliot's in the backfield, don't worry about it. He'll scramble and he'll run for his life. And they ended up with clean uniforms, and I ended up with blood on most of it.
That had to be hard getting knocked down every single time, getting covered in blood, dirt. How did you keep going? Like, how did you keep up with the season? How did you keep competing?
I don't know. I was 16, 17, 18, 15, 16, 17. I just did. You just do. You don't think about it. You just get up the next play and say, okay, let's try this. But you do a lot of scrambling and run and gun. You don't really sit back in the pocket because that pocket really doesn't exist. So you're running a lot. And I felt like I was Joe Namath there with knees because I could throw pretty well. And I wanted to be Joe Namath, and he was my idol, boyhood idol then. But it wasn't meant to be. But I had fun doing it, and I wouldn't trade that at all. Even though my knees were shot, by the time I finished high school, I had knee braces already on both knees. I had broken my nose a number of times, fingers. I've got so many surgeries, it's ridiculous. But it was worth every minute of it.
That's awesome. And it kind of takes me back to what you said earlier about being an entrepreneur and business owner. It's a zigzag, right? It's not all the Bill Gates of the world where you're just going straight up. That's unrealistic. That's not real life. How did you cope not only with football? I know you said you were 16, 17, 18. As far as I'm concerned, teenagers are made of different materials than the rest of us. But as you've started not one, but two, and then your third business, right? There's no way you didn't go through a mountain of failures. How did you keep getting back up? How did you fight through it? Is there, other than your mom and your dad in your ear, right? What else was it?
The key, a good entrepreneur has a good vision. And so I always recommend to people in the first phase of entrepreneurship, create a vision. Now, you don't have to know what it looks like in 20 years. I think that's totally unrealistic. And there are people who say begin with the end in mind. That's a Stephen Covey phrase. But I don't think that's realistic. I think you're just trying to come up with an idea and build it. And I think if you keep a strong vision going, that vision is going to let you overpower a lot of your failures, because you're going to have a financing and cash flow problem, some or more than once along the way. You're going to have a personnel problem and HR problem along the way. You're going to have a revenue and sales problem along the way. And of course, you're going to have a profitability problem most probably along the way. And all these happen over and over in different phases. And sometimes they compound each other, all happening at the same time. And you've got lawyers and accountants that you're talking to about just trying to stay afloat and get a bank line of credit and all that wonderful stuff that you need to do. But if you keep that vision, I am so focused on building something great here, and I think I can do it. That alone could bring you through the precipice, beyond the precipice of failure, because you're willing tomorrow to do it again.
So it really comes down to the vision you built and created.
Which changes. I don't want you to have to keep the same vision. I could tell you for sure, without interviewing Mark Zuckerberg, that I never have met him, is that the vision he had when he started Facebook and the vision he has today probably are worlds apart, because he never envisioned this to Amazon or Meta to get the size that it is, and dominance and keeping all the things that you hate about him and all the things that you love about him. He never saw that coming in his 20s. He certainly sees that now with an army of lawyers and accountants. So it has to grow. But if you keep that vision going, It's going to give you the intestinal fortitude to overcome some of those mistakes.
That's profound. Can I ask, what was your first vision, right? When you started your first business, what was your first vision for the future? Did you have this 5-year vision? Did you have private jets and boats, right? What was your
Yeah.
early vision?
I'm not an overly materialistic guy. Look, I drive a beautiful car. My wife does too. I don't have a jet. I don't have a boat. We do a lot of traveling. That's what we do, a ton of traveling. Some of the nicest places on earth. That's our race car, so to speak, on that. When I started my packaging business, my goal was to be a dominant player in packaging over the next 5 to 10 years on the East Coast in the New York market. We built a nice business up. We built it from $0 to $5 million in sales, 35 employees. It was a nice little business going. It was sucking cash dry because we were growing faster than our cash flow was able to maintain. That's another thing entrepreneurs have to learn is how can I be so profitable and so out of cash all at the same time? And I went to, my wife and I went to a New York Jets football game. We had season tickets forever from the time I was a kid. And we found ourselves in the stands arguing about cash flow and the business the entire game. And I knew at that moment, it was either I wasn't going to be married or I was going to sell my company the next day. And I sold the company. I got divorced anyway. I ended up getting divorced anyway, so maybe I should have done it. But no, but it's that vision of selling it at a certain point I didn't have. I just thought I was going to build it. Now, I had someone who approached me about taking it public at one point, and I think that would be really cool. But I was too young and naive to really understand how that could happen.
Wow. How old were you when you started that business?
In my 20s, 23.
20s? I think something you said there that's pretty interesting too is you pointed out you're not super materialistic, which I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with wanting nice things, but at the same time, if that's all you're doing it for, you'll find that people who want to start a business become an entrepreneur because they don't want to work for someone and they want to be able to buy what they want, live how they want, which is great. I think that's cool. All power to them. But I noticed the most successful ones are the ones who, for lack of better words, fall in love with the game. I'd argue 3 businesses in, it's no longer about which you like to travel, I know, but it's not even about the traveling or the nice car or money. At this point, it's just because you love the game. You love competing. You like work. You enjoy work. So I think that's something huge. I could be wrong, but I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Oh, it's very true. The game is the fun part of it. The growing every day is the fun part about doing something you didn't do yesterday is the fun part of it. Never being satisfied with what you're doing. That's the fun part of it too. All of it's really good on that. I'm already trying to leave a legacy, and the legacy is not going to be my business. My legacy is my charity and hopefully changing people's lives. So at my funeral one day, 30 years, 40 years, whatever it is, that people say he helped thousands and thousands of families with his charity and saved countless number of lives and kids from committing suicide or taking their lives. If that's what they talk about at my funeral, then everything I did was worth it.
That's awesome. That's a vision.
Yeah, that's not based on he had nice cars and he got to drive in the best tracks and fly first class around the world. Had 3 homes in Mexico, wherever. I don't care about that stuff. That doesn't matter to me.
And I'd say that's a good place to start. If I were an entrepreneur, business owner listening to this, that sounds like a good place to start is not necessarily, hey, where could I be living or what could I be driving in 5 years? It's what impact could I have on the world in 5 years? What would I see myself doing and enjoying, right? What game or competition can I fall in love with in 5 years? I feel like that would be a better place to start.
That's a great thing to do. If you want that, now I can tell you that lots of people start businesses for very selfish reasons.
That's fair.
And so not everybody's altruistic. We want to make a lot of money. We want to employ people. We want to be in control of our lives. We don't want a boss. Lots of reasons to start a business. We're smarter. We have a better way to do that. And maybe we're just crappy at taking orders. I don't want to buy a McDonald's franchise because I know I can make a better hamburger. And so that makes me a crappy franchisee because I can do it better. And so I'm not a good employee. So that's a motivator. I get that. I understand. In my 20s, I definitely didn't understand that. But now I do. And so what's going to be the motivator? Now I'm motivated by several things that I still want something to be really worth it down the line. And then what would it be how am I going to touch the world and leave it different for my children and so forth. How much money my children get, that's a motivator for a lot of people about their financial legacy. That's less of a motivator for me. They're big people. They'll make money on their own. They get some money from me, great. If they don't, great. Do it on your own. I didn't get anything. You can make the world a better place.
I like that. You crack me up, Elliot. Now, I actually wanted to ask too, if you'd be willing to, can you plug in your charity? What's the name of
Yeah,
it?
let me tell you about a Brighter Day charity.
Please.
We started that 7 years ago, following the suicide of my youngest son, Jake. Jake was at the University of Montana. He was a sophomore. He walked up to the highway with no drugs, no alcohol, and jumped in front of an oncoming truck and took his life. And we were frantically looking for him when a suicide note arrived at Federal Express. And it had said, David, Mom and Dad, I've been thinking about this for a long time. I never would have told you how I felt. I never would have asked for your help. And I never would have taken your help. And that was the motivation, that one paragraph for the entire charity. Originally starting with music. Now what we do today is we've got so many things to help teens and their families with resources on stress and depression, from texting to Zoom counseling, to live counseling, to inpatient in counseling, to resources on a fantastic website. We do all those things now, and a brighter we're touching 5,000 to 10,000 families a month with the charity. That's amazing.
That's fantastic. I wanted to say amazing, but I didn't want to copy you. It is amazing though.
Yeah, I have a great team.
How could we
around.
support you?
They can go and help us out at www. It's got a donation page. It's got all those resources, all those programs, a lot of great stuff on there. If we could change a life here or there, we're doing amazing things. Just that.
I love that. And that makes me ask too, going through something like that is the ultimate blow, right? There's no amount of cash flow or financial issues a business could go through that will ever equate to the loss you took. And I'm sorry again for your loss, Elliot. How did you manage, what's the right wording? How did you manage to recover and then still continue going and still keep your vision so clear, even after something so traumatic?
Oh, pretty difficult. Those were dark days. I mean, it is, I think you have a hole in you that never really goes away as a parent. Luckily I have other kids. I have 2 stepchildren, some grandchildren, and 2 children, twins that are 30 now. You focus on, or at least for me, I made a decision to focus on the living. And of course, I still go to the cemetery every few weeks to visit my son there. And you could argue that he's not there. He's in heaven or wherever he is. I don't know where he is. He's not here. That's the most important thing. And but the charity is based on that. So we're saving lives in memory of Jake. And he's my screensaver here in my office. His 8x10 pictures next to my television in my family room. I can't get away from it. I don't get away from it. Most big decisions I make, in my head, I wonder if they would be good for him. So you just got to move forward, one foot in front of the other.
That's impressive how you turn something so painful into something so powerful, right? You still get motivated by him every day. You still see him every day. And yet you said, how can I make his loss truly mean something? And I'd say you have. A Brighter Day is an amazing organization. Like you said, you're touching thousands of people. That's a profound impact.
I can't have it be meaningless. I'll tell you when I don't accept there, David. And that's people who said, well, he's in a better place. Because people don't really know what to say or think. And I said, no, he's not in a better place. It's a better place to be right next to me. I wish I didn't have to start the charity. It's next to me. But in his honor, we've done some, or his memory, we've done some amazing things, and we'll continue to do amazing things with that, to the point I'll walk away from it when I think it's nationally sustainable without me. And that's my goal for the charity, is that the charity, when I'm the president of the charity, I started it. I'll step aside with have a new president. I'll be on a board, and then maybe not be on the board. I think it's a wonderful thing. I don't mind just writing checks to keep it going, but I think it needs to be in all 50 states and just be touching in amazing ways.
I completely agree. It goes back to what you mentioned in one of your episodes, when you talk about transitioning as a business owner to selling your business, moving on. That's where you'd like to see that business go. Sounds, which I know it's a nonprofit, so it's not a business per se, but you still like to see it where it's completely functional, whether you're running it or you're not, right? Whether you decide to fully step away, you want to make sure it's fully functional. It keeps impacting those lives with or without you.
I would hate to see it die if I died.
That's awesome. Not awesome, obviously. That
Yeah, I know. I get it. I get it.
okay. I appreciate you, Elliot. Now, with that being said, too, would you be open to sharing what your vision is? I know you shared the vision with your nonprofit. Do you have any other part of the vision that you'd be willing to share, like motivate you? I know you have a brighter day, but out and traveling, is there any other sort of vision, any other motivators you have in your everyday?
So it's funny, David, one day my business will get sold or passed down to the key people here. I sat down because it's a financial advisory organization that I run. I sat down with my wife about a decade ago and I said, I give advice for a living on what people should do in retirement. And keep in mind that watching TV 4 hours a day is not a retirement plan, because that is what the average senior does. That's really sad.
Not fun.
No. I said, what's really important to us? We love travel, especially in Europe, because I live there. We love to eat great food, and I love to make great food. I'm an amateur chef, and I'm trying to get bigger.
Wow.
I've got a world-class wine room at home with 1,000 bottles of fantastic red wine, mostly from Napa and Sonoma, but fantastic red wine. And we like to buy it. We like to drink it. I play golf, but I'm not a golfer. So we realized that, okay, what's important to us? And if we could just travel, eat great food and drink great wine and then buy them and do things around those, we've got a pretty good lifestyle going if we can do that. I don't need to play golf 4 times a week. I couldn't if I wanted to anyway. My body could probably do it twice a week. So that's not going to be. My tennis days are over. My racquetball days are over. I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. Don't let this body fool you, but I actually do exercise. And so we do that, and I'll probably do that as long as I can. And even with golf, I'll be able to play that at some point, but I've got some pretty good arthritis on my right hand that at some point I won't be able to get my hand around the club. And that's okay. My wife and I accepted the fact that when that day happens, that's okay, because we still have everything else going for us. And so be it. So I think every day I wake up and I think, I want to take my wife to a nicer place. She wants to go out for dinner to a nicer place. It doesn't have to be expensive. It could be casual food. It could be a great burger. If I were to open up my own restaurant tomorrow, it would probably be a gourmet burger place or a New York deli, New York style deli. It would not be a white tablecloth, amazing 3 Michelin star restaurant. I don't have that in me. I'm not a trained chef. I can never do that. But I can make hamburgers and corned beef sandwiches that would blow your mind. She's already said, don't even think about it, because I brought it up a few times. You don't own a restaurant, it owns you, so don't do it.
She's a smart woman. Sounds like she's very wise. But funny enough, we were actually talking me and a few of my colleagues earlier today about what's the one food you could have and just eat for the rest of your life and be okay with it. I pick burgers. So I love where your head's at.
It would be a burger. I could do a burger every day for lunch. There's a place in New Jersey, not too far from where we used to work, in the north central part of Jersey. And it was one of those gourmet burger places. And you walk in and they have 21 different burgers on the menu, from different cheeses and mushrooms and onions. And today you have French fries. It's the fast food restaurants that put French fries inside and onion rings inside of burgers.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't do that. They were just different flavors. And that would be my style. I did French mushroom boursin cheese burgers for quite some time for lunch.
Wow. That's an amazing lunch.
Yeah, I've never seen it since then. I can't even remember the name of it. But boy, does that sound good.
Talk about eating like a king.
If I want to finish that with a slice of New York cheesecake, I'd be okay with it.
Cheesecake. Okay. Also, Elliot, I'm almost uncomfortable with how much I have in common with you. My grandma would make me a cheesecake every birthday from the time I was in middle school till I graduated high school. So I'm not big on cake, but I love cheesecake. If it's a high quality cheesecake, and she's a baker. She used to be a chef. She retired, and then she said, I hate cooking. She still cooks. She actually enjoys it, but
Good for her.
she doesn't cook as much, but she loves baking. So then she got super into baking. Make a cheesecake that'll blow your mind. I guarantee it.
I'll take it anytime. I sent to my staff every year for holidays. I send a cheesecake from the Carnegie Deli to everybody.
That's boss of the year. You have to have a cup somewhere that says boss of the year. Elliot, I appreciate you for this time. You're an amazing man with amazing knowledge, right? And actually, I have to ask too. I know I've held you for a little longer than probably expected. Thank you for sticking around with me. But speaking of leadership, and you talked a lot about vision, something I don't think that's always talked about as much is how do you keep your team aligned with your vision, especially for someone like yourself who's considering either A, you might have to sell it at some point in the future, or you might pass it down. That'd be hard for an employee or someone that works for you to that's a loss that they'll have to grieve, is not getting those cheesecakes every year, right? So how do you keep your team aligned with your vision?
That's a big challenge for every business owner. You want to have employees that buy into your vision, see it, feel good about it. It's really difficult if one of your employees has cancer in your office because they really destroy it. Every organization has that. And even a good employee become a sour employee at some point for lots of personal and business reasons. So it's very complicated. At this moment, I've got a great team around me, but I've not always had a great team around me. And some days are more challenging than others. And even this morning, I was talking to my marketing director and he's saying, where are we going with this? What's my future? What's the outcome here? I said, I can't even afford to buy a house in Northern California and I make great money and I don't get it. For him, if he could move to Nashville, Tennessee, he'd feel great because he could afford everything there, but he couldn't do his job here. So it's a hard situation.
Especially in an economy like this, where housing prices are through the roof. California's housing market is one of the wildest things I've ever seen. So that has to be tough.
Yep. So that's a hard answer, but you got to just keep the horses going and horses lined up properly, knowing that they're wrong almost every day, and you keep fixing them. There's a movie called Ben-Hur, and Ben-Hur takes place in old Israel, Judah, Ben-Hur, Judea, and he comes across this Arab who raises horses, all thoroughbreds at that time, and he wants to race those horses in Rome, in a great track in Rome. It's amazing what they have there because that's really where the money and the prestige comes from. And he can't get these people to do it. And Charlton Heston stumbles across this person and this thing. And it's Charlton Heston that redoes where the horses go. There's 4 horses. Who's on the inside? Who's in the middle? Who's on the outside? And he experiments until he gets it right and creates, and that's the winning combination. And your employees are like that individually they may do great, but collectively they may be in the wrong place. And every day you got to adjust that place to make sure that they're pulling your chassis in the right direction.
Wow. That was great how you tied that story to your point. So if I understand it right, it's really about making sure that you understand your employees well enough to say, hey, you're not doing the right task. Instead, here's what you should be working on. This is the right project for you. Or even you might not be doing that project in the right way for you. So it's really getting in depth into the work and understanding what they're doing without doing it for them or micromanaging them.
And keep in mind, they're all human.
We all are. That's true. I appreciate that, Elliot. I won't keep you any longer. I want to, because heck, how often do you get to speak to someone like yourself? But I won't do that to you. So as we wrap up, I want to recap a little bit of what we talked about. Stop me if I say it wrong or add in whatever you think I may have missed. But a lot of what we talked about in this episode, to really highlight it, is first, every journey in business, I'd argue in life as well, is a zigzag. You're going to go up, you're going to go down. And sometimes you're going to go down for longer than you're up, and sometimes you'll go up longer than you're down. But you are going to go on that roller coaster. And that's okay. The first place to start with is be okay with sometimes not being okay. And the way to make it through those hard times, to make it through the failures, to not forget the failures when everything's going amazing, is make your vision clear. You don't have to know your vision for the next 20, 30, 40 years because life changes too often. But you need to at least have an idea of where you're going. You have to know what you're fighting for. You have to know what motivates you. You have to know what picture you need to see on the computer screen to make it worth logging in, to keep work going. And I'd recommend, I know you said everyone starts a business for different reasons. I'd recommend you love the game. I'd recommend you get into a business or want to do business for yourself, not just because you want to work for yourself, but most importantly, because you love the game. You love working, you love the hustle, and you like really the drive of the everyday. Don't just do it for the nice car or the boat or the house, which that's great, but do it for more than that. And something you did talk about that we probably could have covered more is make sure you create great memories, right? Something you do with your wife, like you're constantly traveling. I think that's under discussed between business owners and entrepreneurs. Everyone wants to work all the time. Everyone, to my earlier point, is in love with the game and wants to be in the hustle, but we can't get back those memories and those times. Like with your wife, there's no amount of money you can make that'll replace traveling to Israel, right? Traveling to the Caribbean, all these beautiful places you go. There's no amount of money that can replace those memories that are worth so much more. And on top of that, the best way to keep the vision going is to share your vision with others. Make sure that your team is just as aligned with your vision as you are, and be okay with realigning them quite often. Sometimes it's going to be a daily process, sometimes a few times a week, but keep it aligned, keep them on board, and be okay having those tough conversations. And to your point, you have such a great relationship. Not many marketing directors or anyone that work for you are going to share, hey, I'm really going through this hard time. I don't know what to do. It takes a good relationship with someone that works for you to be able to do that. And last but not least, make sure you look up a brighter day. Make sure you donate. Make sure you get involved. Let's make that thing nationwide. And let's save as many lives and family members as we can. Make sure we work hard, everyone. And Elliot, is there anything you think I missed in that recap?
No, that was pretty good.
I appreciate you. I like to think I pay attention. Your time is more than worth it. I'd refuse to waste it. So everyone, I will also be leaving links for a brighter day, contact to get in touch with Elliot and his associates. Amazing, amazing wealth advisor. He will help you prepare for retirement. Keep this man in mind. And it will all be in the description and the bio. With that being said, everyone, let's win. Let's have fun. Keep your family, God first, and make sure you do something worth your time. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone, for watching another episode of Conversations That Count. Sometimes what we find is YouTube will unsubscribe us from our favorite channels, as well as when we finish an episode, we'll have enjoyed it so much, we'll forget to hit the subscribe button because we'll be so caught up with it. My ask is so that we can keep the channel free, so that I can continue bringing you amazing guests, continue bringing you amazing practices that improve all of our skills as we go into every day and every week. If you can hit that subscribe button, if you can like, share, it goes a very long way to, again, keeping the channel free, allowing us to continue providing you amazing content. And my promise is I will only continue to improve the content, improve the guests, and improve the best practices every single time. I will make sure every week and every month that it only gets better for you. So again, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.